What is going on, guys? We are back on the FTOG Avant 3 server, and today, guys, we're going to be messing around with a lot of different RFTools things because there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do early on, including storage and some other miscellaneous things that'll help us out a lot. Now, the main reason that I want to get into storage is because I am really bad. I am actually surprisingly bad at keeping things organized. Now, I know most people in Minecraft aren't great. You know, they start out with a bunch of just chests, they chuck some stuff in. Well, that never straightens out for me. So aside from actually setting up storage early on, I'm pretty much screwed. So I really don't want to deal with that. And my inventory's already become a mess just trying to set up for today's episode. So I'm going to try and kind of expedite the organization process by starting it early. And I'm a fan of starting off with the RFTools storage because it's got a lot of cool things. Now, the biggest thing for me is that it's really cheap to set up, it's easy to set up, and it's easy to move around, but on top of that, you have the ability to have wireless storage and crafting, which is really huge for me, because even if you're just moving around a little bit, being able to access it from wherever you are is really great. So we're going to be setting that up today, and then we're also going to be setting up the environmental controller, which I'm actually relatively new to, but it seems like a very simple concept that I've looked into. So you have the environmental controller, and then you've got all these different modules here, and they're really cool. They're kind of, a lot of them at least, have the module and then the plus module, and these kind of act like giving you buffs that you could get from like a beacon or something, but they're actually really cheap, so you pretty much spend power to get them, and as you can see in the green text, it's per cubic block. So if you're not using it in a huge area, it's actually really cheap. So we really don't have that much power to expend right now, but we're actually still going to be having some power coming in even after setting all this stuff up today. So it's really great because we're only having like 70 RF per tick coming in passively right now, but we're still going to be able to maintain, actually, we're still going to be gaining power even on top of all this stuff because it's meant to be early game with the setup. So I think we're only going to be doing the regeneration module today. I wanted to get the saturation module and speed module, but there really aren't any horses around here. And I actually died trying to get the saturation module because you pretty much have to take one of these syringes and then you go and you find whatever mob the crafting requires. In this case, it was a zombie, and it's actually surprisingly difficult to find just a zombie for some reason when it's never nighttime. So I had to go caving, and most of the caves around here are lit up, and then I only ran into skeletons and creepers, and I got blown up, and it was very bad. So I'll get that later, but for now we've got the regeneration module. Everything else is crafted. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is set up, let's do the remote storage first, because that's the one that I'm really looking forward to. So if you guys don't know, and I kind of got to pick one of these things to take out of my inventory right now and just put somewhere else. So maybe we'll just move the ink sac. But if you guys don't know, you can upgrade the storage modules to 3 different tiers. So you have tier 1, which is 100 stacks of items, and then you've got tier 2, which is 200, and tier 3, which is 300. Now that kind of lets you know really quickly why this is early game. 300 stacks late game is really not that much. Now obviously you could have 4 of them, so it'd be 1200 stacks, but even that, when you start having automated things inputting just, you know, everything into this one system, you're going to want something a little bit bigger, and there are better options for it, but right now I just need to get things out of my inventory. So we're going to be setting this up over by the power here. So I think we're just going to, eventually I'm going to sort out how I actually want everything to work over here, because right now it's a little bit weird since we got, you know, stuff going up to the second floor over here, and we don't even have a second floor yet, so those really serve no purpose. But on top of that, we've got the power coming in over here, but I want these to all be kind of flush with the wall, so I'm going to put in like a second wall. There's definitely a name for that, but I'm going to put in like a second wall and adjust these sides so that it looks like it's the real wall, but really it's a fake wall. That stuff is going on behind it just so we don't have to look at all this. But for now, we're just going to throw it down right here, and we'll use one of our remaining energy conduits to connect these. So there we go. This is going to be getting power very slowly. This should actually have a decent internal buffer. So yeah, it actually does. It's completely full. So we've got that going for us. So now what we need to do is start hooking this stuff up. So I actually want to take a look once we're done with this. Obviously there'll be no power coming in here, so this will be losing none. So it should be gaining. Alright, so it's gaining 62. We lost out on a little bit of RF per tick since last time because I was adjusting stuff over with the stream that's flowing over it. But eventually I will get up to the maximum once I've got everything situated with how I want it to look. But if we come down here, we can throw in all of these storage modules that are tier 1. Now you can just shift click them in there, and it for the most part works. You want to fill in these areas right here. You can do cross-dimensional access. It's not really relevant to us right now, but I'm actually curious. I've never looked to see if that takes more power. So right now, we're not even using it, but I'm curious to know if it takes more power with cross-dimensional access, because I don't know why it wouldn't be checked on right away if it didn't take more power, but that's besides the point. I don't plan on going to different dimensions for a while, aside from the nether, but I'm not going to be in there for a long time. So we've got those. And now we actually have to get this wirelessly enabled, and that means that we gotta, it should be, did I leave it over here? Yeah, so our remote storage module is the important part, because right now, unlike if you actually threw down, let's say, what is it, the modular storage where you could just throw things in there, this does not actually allow you to access it from this terminal. All this allows you to do is throw in these actual module tiers so you can store stuff wirelessly, but to be able to access it, we need to throw this in there. So now it has the remote ID of 41 on there, even though this is technically it's our first one, but that means just that there's other ones on the server right now that people are using. So this is the 41st one. This should be the 40. One of these will be the 42nd. It'll be 41 through 44. So something interesting that I want to show you guys that might confuse some people is right now we've thrown this in there. It's got the remote ID of 41, and boom. So now we should be able to access that. So if we open up our inventory, we take the storage module tablet, we throw them both in there, and we get this, which has no energy in it. We can easily just throw it in here and charge it though. We'll allow it to charge a little bit. It caps out at 20,000. And where did it just go? Oh, it clicked in there. I was like, okay, where did it go? Did we lose it? So now we can right click with this, and we actually can't cycle between storages. So we've got our fir wood in there, but we can't cycle. But there's 4 different storages down there, so why can't we cycle through those? Well, this confused me a lot when we first started, or when I first started messing around with this, but it's because these aren't really activated yet. So there's really nothing in them, but we can't access them to even activate them. So what we can do is put this back in the table, we get out the remote storage module, and we get this back. And then we got to go into here and we throw this in, and even though it changes the remote ID, you can see that this one is now technically, like, air quotes, activated. So now we can actually access that. Now this one's 43 and the next one will be 44. So it doesn't really matter which one you slap this on. We can just throw it on the first one, so it starts with remote ID 41. And then we can go back over here. We can throw these both back in here, and now we should be able to access all 4 different storage modules, which will total 400 stacks. Unfortunately, they don't really combine. You do have to cycle between them, but I only plan on using at least the first one for now. So you can see you can just shift click stuff in there. So we can shift click all this random junk from our inventory in there, and it's filling up pretty quickly. 300 stacks is a fair bit eventually once we get there, but it does cost a little bit to upgrade these. So you can see it takes a lot of gold, it takes some quartz, and it takes the previous tier, which is the second one. This one's not as expensive, but I was a little bit short on gold. I have a bunch of gold, but I haven't actually cooked it down yet. So I just stuck with tier 1 for now. They're pretty easy to upgrade. But we can just throw all of this random stuff in there and we'll be good to go. And now we actually have some storage. And then, of course, you can cycle through. So this will be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 1st. Now, it's a little weird. I don't know if it ever shows you when you cycle through which one you're at if you're not actually counting. So if I'm not actually going, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then 1st, you don't really know where you are. I don't know if there's anywhere in here that shows you that. But another nice thing is it also allows for us to do wireless crafting. So what we can do is, say we want to be able to craft, let's just say, wooden planks on the fly. And obviously this is a very odd thing to want to craft on the fly, like with a 3x3 crafting grid, because you can already craft it on the fly. But what you can do here is you can actually set it to crafting like 4 of these. And let me see. It's always been a little bit weird with crafting. Maybe they need to be in your inventory. Huh? No? I was having issues with this, but oh, that's right. I forgot. So you need to actually store this recipe somewhere. So we'll store that recipe there, and now we can actually craft it. So I think you can leave them in here, and then you can click 1, and there it goes. It pulls it out and puts it in your inventory. You can craft a stack. You can craft 4, 1, 8, and then if you ever run out of them, it'll actually tell you which one you're missing. But I actually don't want to keep this recipe here, so we'll just store an empty recipe and throw that back in there. But that's really nice if you do craft things a lot. I'll probably keep one for pistons because those get crafted a lot. I can't even think of other things that get crafted a lot, but if you're doing like a lot of RFTools, you might craft a lot of machine frames, stuff like that. So just common recipes. It's pretty darn nice that you can do that. So it's just kind of a multifunctional thing. That's why I really like it. So now we've got that going for us. we have our wireless storage, which means I'm just going to have to start moving stuff up here pretty much over the course of now till next episode. And the nice thing is if we take a look up at the power here, we're actually neutral in RF per tick right now. So eventually, once I get it up a little bit more in terms of getting the water wheels working a little bit better, or pretty much add any other form of power generation, will be good. Now, I'm actually surprised it came out perfectly stable. I thought we'd be using up a little bit less, but it might be because of how many things we actually have thrown in here. So let me try taking a couple things out. I don't know if it's actually based on how much stuff is in there, or if it's just based on how many slots. Okay, it looks like it's based off of how many slots and just not how much stuff is actually in there. But we can throw that back in, and now we can start messing around for a little bit, at least, with the environmental controller. Now, the reason I say for a little bit is because this actually is going to start losing power. Not very fast, but actually, no, we're not gaining power. What am I saying? We're not gaining power because we're at max right now. So we actually are probably gaining like 20 RF per tick if we're not capped out at our 2 million RF. You know what, I was being stupid there. Okay, so that's what's going on with that right now. Okay, but what we can do is grab out the environmental controller and grab out the regeneration module, and we can come over and hook those up over here. And that is so weird. That is so weird. When I look over here, I get 30 FPS. When I look over here, I get 20. That's really weird. I don't know what is over there. Is it just the immersive engineering stuff? Over here, I get great FPS. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's up with that. That's really weird. Hopefully it's not super noticeable, but we're gonna throw on the environmental controller. Now this thing looks really, really cool. You can see it's not infused. Eventually you can infuse both of these because they are RF tools when you start going to different dimensions and get the dimensional shards, but we're not gonna worry about that. So what we're gonna do is open this up. Well, actually, we'll hook it up first so we can start gaining power, and this is going to suck a ton of power out of this thing right now. But once it fills up, we should actually be able to see how much power we're gaining in here. So how close is this to being full? Okay, that's going to take a while. But so you can see you pretty much set the radius in here for however far you want it to go in terms of radius. Okay guys, so I'm sorry about that. I actually just accidentally hit the hotkey to unfull screen the game, so that was great. I don't even know why I still have that on right now, but it just messed up my recording, so I had to cut the video and then jump back. But I think I was saying something about setting the different height for this. So we want it to probably go from like 70 to 85 in case we're going up or down a little bit. But we just want to keep it as close as we possibly can because it'll use up less. Okay, that's a little annoying. It looks like you can't bring this height lower than this height when you're typing it in. But now it'll only work from 70 to 85, and we can change the radius to like 20 blocks. We can up it a little bit more if we have extra power, but for now we'll leave it at 21 blocks. Apparently it wants to sit there, but right now we are gaining 54 RF per tick, so that is great. That means that we have a ton to expend from all of this. So the minute we throw this in there, it should start working. So you can see it's got this really cool light in there, and it's using 33 RF per tick right now to give it 21. If we were to lower it to 14, it's using 14 RF per tick. I don't really think regeneration is that important right now. There's a lot of different ones that you can do that are a lot better. You've got speed, which is relatively easy to get. We just have to get a horse. There weren't any around me right now, but once I get one, all you do is take the syringe and you just punch whatever you need to get the essence from, I guess it's called, not blood, but once you get their essence, you just need to hit it a bunch till you get it to 100% full. The regeneration was an iron golem. The saturation one looks really good too. But you can see how much RF per tick it uses, of course, and these all use relatively low. You can actually get flight too, which is pretty darn cool, but it's 0.004 RF per tick per cubic block, so this one's a lot more expensive than everything else, and you'd have to extend it pretty far, but there's pretty cool ones. You've got peaceful module, you've got water breathing, night vision, and then you've got like bad ones that work on mobs. So I think this stuff is all pretty cool. These cost a lot more though in terms of RF per tick. You've got the glowing module for you, lucky module, and then no teleportation, which we really would not want around here. So we got all that cool stuff going on. Eventually I'll tack more on here as we get more power generation going, but we should still be getting some power in here. So 40-ish RF per tick, pretty cool. We'll actually up this now to like, let's up it to like 25, and we still should be getting some RF. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of RF in there. 25 should be far enough in every direction if we're just working around the base, but I don't plan on getting hurt that much around here, just because there's never really any mobs spawning, which, like I said, is a little bit annoying when you're trying to fill up a syringe, but it's actually pretty nice when you're working. So I'm only going to die when I walk down into a cave to try and get a syringe full. But the last thing that I want to talk about, it's actually two things. These are all these different frames that, we have the ability to use. So if I search up frames, I don't actually know what mod these are from, but they're pretty darn cool. So we're looking at the ones that are pretty much right here. So Super Crafting Frame, I guess, is the name of the mod. What it allows you to do is have a couple different frames that, do different things. So I don't really know much about the XP frame, the breeding frame, and I'm sure you guys can kind of guess at what those are for. But there's crafting frames, and you pretty much just throw them up on the wall. And the big ones for us, what is this, an item frame? Okay, so those are just item frames. But this one is the teleportation frame, which can go 1 through 4. And all that allows you to do is essentially what we're doing right here, which is teleport to a different area. And then typically what we do on the server is have a teleportation frame in spawn that takes you to your base, and then one from your base that takes you back. It's kind of scummy if you don't have one that takes you back, because then someone goes to your base to look at all your cool stuff or show it off in like a server tour or something, and then there's no way to get back. And I remember watching Torgal's video when he thought, I think it was Grok, had made a new island, and Torgal didn't actually know where the teleportation frame was to get back, and he thought he got stuck on the island, which really isn't that big of a deal, because most people have like portal or wireless like porters to get out and back to their base, even if there is no frame. But if you didn't, Grok always builds his stuff like really far away, so it kind of be bad. But yeah, so you probably always want to have one of these, but they're a little bit annoying to set up, because pretty much what you do is you throw down the frame, and then you throw down it's called like a destination. What's it called? It's a destination right here, destination marker. So you click on the ground where you want the destination marker to mark, then you click on the frame with the marker, and then you can use the frame to get there. So for me, it was put down a frame in spawn, click a destination marker in spawn, come back to my base, click down a destination marker here, put down a frame here, and then put down the destination marker for spawn in this one, go to spawn, and then put down the destination marker for my base in the one in spawn and come back. And it wouldn't have been that bad if I didn't accidentally click on this to go back to spawn without clicking a destination marker in my base. So I took like 4 trips back and forth to spawn, and if we look in here, oh, we're inside right now. Well, I'll show you guys how far the trip is to spawn. You can see the marker is somewhere over there, so it's about 1400 blocks, but it's a lot of water and traversing mountains. Wait, that's not to, this is to spawn. That is to Grok's base. That's to spawn. I don't actually know whose base that is right there, but this is to spawn. So yeah, that is it's a lengthy trek to get back there, so it was a little bit unfortunate. But what we're going to be doing now, while I ramble on about all this stuff, is putting down the super incineration frame. Now, I did have to ask Rose right before I started recording if this lights things on fire, because the last thing I want to do is burn down either the forest or the base. But she told me that I think fire spread is off on the server, and along with that, I also don't think it lights things on fire. But we're going to throw this down. Now, what this does is it allows you to kind of trash items in it, and there is a way, I think there is a way to access, I'm actually forgetting, but there's a way to access, okay, so it's shift left clicking, allows you to access a internal storage. And the reason that this is awesome and is not like a trash can is because trash cans get rid of items like right away when you click it in there. But what this does is you pretty much can incinerate stuff. So let's say I wanted to incinerate one low voltage wire relay. You just right click on it. It makes the sound like it burned it, but then you can go in and you can see the last 9 items. So it's kind of like in World of Warcraft, where you can go and buy back items if you didn't mean to sell it, but in other games you might not be able to. So the one thing that is still decent about World of Warcraft, even if maybe they got rid of it, I don't know. If they did, then it just sucks. But yeah, so this is the one nice thing, so you don't accidentally click a tool in there that you meant to keep and lose it altogether if you notice soon enough. But I just want to keep this so I can just chuck stuff out if I don't want it. Saplings, seeds, random junk that I don't need. So I'm going to keep that pretty close to my heart to keep things nice and clean around the base or in the storage system. And oh great, a loud bus outside. But I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Now, there was one thing I wanted to talk about, and I probably should have talked about this a little bit sooner, but the reason that I put out 3 Avant 3 episodes in a row and not a Surviving With episode is because There's stuff that I'm prepping for, especially with the fusion reactor and mechanism, but there's stuff I'm prepping for in both Surviving With series, and it's taken a little bit longer than expected, and I had an organic chemistry exam just a couple hours ago that I've been studying for the last couple days, and then tomorrow I have a multivariable calculus exam, so I only really have today to study for that, so I really didn't have time to do a ton of prepping and all that stuff, but those videos should be coming out after my exam tomorrow, because then I will have some extra time to not actually have to study and where I can just go and record and have some fun. The fusion reactor one is taking a very long time to prep for, so yes, it'll be a fun episode, but yes, it's also taking a very long time, and I know I told people that I'd have the episode out instead of this one, but hopefully you guys don't mind too much. You guys seem to be enjoying the FTOG Avant 3 episodes, so hopefully you liked the episode. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot, and I will talk to you guys later.